tips, do any of them cause you to go, what in the world is he talking about?
Yeah, KOOL.
Yes, yes, that is who I am. I am KOOL. And you'll notice that it is KOOL with a K. And it's actually an acronym. And it stands for Keen Observer of Life. Be a keen observer of life. Look around and see what's happening. Look, it's incredible what happens around you that you can either use. I never look at a magazine. I actually probably pay more attention to the advertisements in the magazine than I do the articles these days. First of all, I have that ADHD stuff that if the article is more than about a page, I'm good. But I look at the ads and I look at the slogans they use and I look at the things they do. I'm fascinated by people. I'm a people watcher. I love to go. I'll tell you, one of the great places to watch people is the airport. Oh, God. It's an unbelievable mishmash.
Yeah.
By the way,
there's drama too.
Yes. Well, by the way, this town is an interesting people-watching town. It is somewhat more eclectic than Plano, Texas. But you look and see what's going on around you, and it's amazing. And I just think we miss so much in not just our professional lives, our personal lives too. But I watch people when I watch someone speaking. I watch how they move their hands. I watch their eye movements. I watch. Because I'm thinking, I can learn. There was a trainer, Dr. Fred Gross, who said this to us one time in a mastermind. He said, everyone you meet, or everyone you come into contact with, has a gift for you. It's your job to figure out what it is. And so then you think, well, okay, look, it's a gift, then they should wrap it up and just hand it to me. Well, life doesn't work that way, right? Yeah, Dan?
Well, you're talking about connectors, and something that come up before us when we talked about this is you say everybody, you have to know somebody who knows everybody and everything about a neighborhood. There are connectors in your daily life that you sometimes don't suspect. And some of these have come up, been very useful to me, are the people that work with you professionally, like dentists, doctors. Doctors have enormous multiplier effects. They talk to you about everything but your own problem. So you can talk to them about what you're doing. And it's amazing how that gets passed along. And if you get past the equipment that a dentist has in your mouth, you can also share stuff with them. We've gotten referrals from these folks who have enormous networks of their own. The same thing is true about marshals on a golf course. It's amazing how they can become your advocates if you just talk them up. And you said before, a little chatter goes a long way. If they get to know who you are, get to like you, a marshal on a golf course knows everybody. And not that I know this final category very well.
Bartenders.
Bartenders are wonderful. I know that category. But hairdressers, it's just amazing what a network of hairdressers.
I'm just never there long enough. I don't think so. I think you're in and out before I sit in the chair.
I'm with you, Dick. I'm going to stick with bartenders. But I'm just putting it out as possible.
Here's the only thing. Those are all true and absolutely correct. Keep in mind one thing. Not everyone, regardless of the size of their network, is willing to refer to you. Offering someone a referral, giving someone a referral, is a risk-based act. And so the couple things that Dan said were important. If they like you and they trust you, they're more likely to give you a referral. But I've said in training before, I've said it in front of some of you, my number one referring person in my life has been my mother. But she's never given me a name. She just gives my name out. But she refuses to give me their name. Now, if she's giving my name out, how many of you think end up calling me? Virtually none. Yeah, but my mom is afraid. I just joked with her one time, and I said, Mom, I'm not going to scare them. I'm not going to yell at them. I may stalk them, but I'm not going to. She didn't laugh. She doesn't think it's funny, but she's worried about it. Some people are not. They're risk averse. And you have to figure out, okay, the ones who I can get into a relationship with, find out we have something in common, they can trust me. There's a guy I was playing golf with the other day, and he says, by the way, I don't even really do business actively, and it still kind of comes. So he said, hey, my house, I want to tell you. And I just kind of met him. I played golf with him like twice. But the third guy, see, this is how it works. The third guy, who's known him for years, who is the one who invited me to play in their little group on Wednesdays, I've known for 30 years. He owns his own roofing company, and we've referred business, and I've listed. I sold him $1 million house. That's big in Dallas. So he's talking to Ron about listing with me, but Ron's already made this commitment to this gal in Maryland. So, but Ron feels like he's got to explain to me why he listed with Maryland. He said, you know, Maryland's sold over 100 houses in the last 5 years. I said, wow. That's a lot more than I've sold in the last 5 years. It's great. He said, yep, I wanted a go-getter. I wanted a tiger. I didn't want someone who just sat around and waited. I said, yeah, I know what you mean. So that was kind of it. He didn't get a rise out of me or anything. So the next week, Fred, the in-between guy, says, Ron's really mad at Maryland. This is very long. This is like a week later. And so I said, so how's it going with the house? We're on the golf course. Now I've known this guy total of 2 months, I think. He says, I don't know. He says, Maryland's a blankety blank. Golf course run. Bar shooter. That's not what he said, but he said, yeah. He said, this is just I made a terrible mistake. He says, we don't click at all. I said, oh, that's too bad. He said, as a matter of fact, if I just could, I would get out of that deal in a heartbeat. We just clash all the time. And I said, well, life's too short. Why don't you just get out of it? He said, she won't let me out. I said, well, and then Fred over here, he says, could she force him to stay in? I said, yes, she could force him to stay in. And then Ron says this, he goes, yeah, she won't let me out. Well, she'll let me out for $500. I said, so is that how you want out? And I'll pay the $500. He looked at me and he said, you do that? I said, so this is your house. Yes, I'd do that. He says, all right, I'll do that. He said, can you come over and see the house today? I said, as soon as we finish, I'll come right on. So I went over there and looked at the house. And I called him that night, told him what I thought. Didn't hear from him. See, I see him on Memorial Day Monday at the golf course. He says, hey, I got to talk to you. I already know what's coming. $500 wasn't enough. He gave her a second chance. And she said, okay, I'm sorry. I'll be nicer. You know, I didn't realize that you had other choices. Kind of a deal. And he said, I'm so sorry. He said, I feel like I used you. All right, now listen to this. This is really important. Think about his what? What's behind him? His network. This is about relationship building. This isn't about a transaction. You understand? The moment you start focusing on the transactions, the one you go, you darn right you used me. You took me out there, you had me out there. I don't appreciate this one bit. That's a terrible way to go. You know what I said? I said, hey, I hope she sells it tomorrow. I hope it sells tomorrow. You didn't use me. You gave me a chance to come out and take a look at it. I appreciate that. That was a compliment to me. Hey man, it isn't about me. It's about you. And he was stunned by that. That's how you deal with people. Keen observer of life. I'm out on the golf course. I'm trying to figure out who am I playing with? Where do they live? How long have they lived there? Be a keen observer of life by asking people questions. Be a keen observer of life by gathering information. I'm nosy. We talked about that today. I think that's why I like the residential real estate business. I like going in people's houses, opening up drawers and opening closets. My wife, when we go to a party, she's just appalled that I'm walking all over the house, opening up closets and drawers, upstairs when the party's downstairs. It's just how we do things, right? I mean, back in the old days, you remember, ladies, I wish I had a nickel for every Farrah Fawcett poster we saw on the wall. There were certain things that you saw. The beads hanging down from the kids' doors. The colors. Anytime you went into a house, you saw all these bright colors in the kids' bedrooms. You'd go, bride. Bride. There's the bride. Okay, kids, we're going to move. I know you don't want to, but we're going to let you paint your own room, whatever color you want. I mean, in Texas, you could see pools where a bride